with Calculus 1. I was in high school, okay? I was in high school. I wanted to get a job. I already had a job as a hostess at a restaurant. However, I wanted to get a secondary job at a testing center where my sister worked, but that was at a college. So in order to get a job there, I needed to enter college. So in my senior year of high school, I entered college so I could get a job at the testing center. And I ended up, originally I was going to take college mathematics, which is basically algebra 2, for those of you who may or may not be familiar with it. It's not super advanced. So I was supposed to be taking that, right? So I went in back to trying to get a second job in high school. I had to get into college to get the second job. So I got into college and I had to take a test to be allowed into to college mathematics, or I'm not sure if it was elementary algebra. It was college mathematics though, right? And I went to the testing center and they make you take this diagnostic test, and it's supposed to be super short, right? So it's supposed to be the super short test. My sister is like, oh, this is going to take you 15 minutes tops. Don't worry. It's not hard. You just need to get the score and then move on. And I started taking the test. And I'm just answering questions. And it's 40 minutes into it. I'm still answering questions and the test still isn't done. I go back and get another piece of paper because I'm out of room on my paper. So I keep answering questions because it's on the computer and just gives you next question, next question, next question. And I keep doing it. And then another hour passes by. My sister's like, what's going on in there? Because I come out and get another piece of paper. And I'm just I don't know. I'm just doing questions. Anyways, so that went on for 3 hours and 30 minutes, approximately. And I still feel bad because I made my sister wait that entire time. Or, well, she ended up waiting the entire time. But yeah, so instead of getting placed in college mathematics, unfortunately I skipped that, trigonometry, and pre-calc, and then got placed into calc. So I had to take calculus instead. So I kind of took calculus before I was ready to, because I could just backwards derive my way into answers before actually learning the math, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so I just kept getting the questions right, and it just kept forcing me to go on. It was disgusting. Calculus is definitely hard. Yeah, so I still remember to just Calculus 1 was brutal, man. Calculus 1 was so brutal because I didn't understand, and it was definitely the first math course that I actually had to learn. I fail miserably. I don't know how integration works because it just fundamentally does not make sense to me. So area under the curve does not make sense to me at all. I can't show my work for anything because I've never shown work before. So anyways, I had to retake it during the summer. There was this old 50, 60-year-old guy who was teaching the class, and it was a knockout drag-out course. It was 6 weeks long, and it was just an accelerated course. So, the thing to do is, if you fail calculus, you take an accelerated version of it, right? Because that will surely work out in your favor, right? Anyways, I wasn't the brightest. I wasn't the brightest noodle in the noodle house, but that's okay. So I end up barely squeaking by to the final, and I'm essentially pass-fail on taking the course. So my final grade, if I pass it, I will pass the class. If I fail it, I will fail the class. Essentially was what I ended up needing for the final. And I still remember this, dude. I still remember this as clear as day. As clear as day. Bro, okay. The professor was just because like he was handing out the final and like, you know, giving his little like end of the year speech, right? End of the year speech out to people. He's like, you know, just because you fail this, just because you may fail this test looking directly at me, just because you may fail this test does not mean that you are stupid. Still passing it out, still looking directly at me. And I was just like, it's just like targeted. Like, targeted, bro. I felt so targeted. Like, I sat in, like, the corner, too. So, like, he had to, like, turn his head to the corner. So it was obvious he was looking at me. And I was just like, ugh. Anyways, I ended up barely passing that class. I got a C-. And I moved on to Calculus 2, okay? Things are gonna work out. Things are gonna work out. Okay, I'm gonna have a great time. I'm gonna do great. It was my first actual semester in college, so I was no longer in high school. So I'd graduated college, and I gradugrated college, and I was like, okay, it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. So I get my first test back, and I thought I understood the content, right? I thought I understood the content. You know, I get my first test back, and you know how if you do bad, the professor, if you get like a B, an A, or a C, they just like hand it to you. But when you do bad, they like slide it over to you backwards, because it's like, I don't even have the decency, or I don't want to embarrass you with this piece of garbage, so I'm gonna slip it to you backwards, just in case, you know, you might be a little embarrassed. I'm just gonna slide it over. So they slided it over to me, and I'm like, okay, whatever, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Totally didn't fail it. And this was my first of 3 tests. I like kind of like cut my hand a little, and I like peek it up. 34. It was a 34. I'm like, oh great. Oh great. Out of 100. Yeah, it was a 34 out of 100. 1 second, I need to get the pinouts for this. So yeah, I took an immense amount of psychic damage, and I was like, I thought I understood calculus. So I get on the struggle bus. Quite hard. I bust my butt, and next exam, I get it. I'm doing okay on the homework. Like, I'm doing all right. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ace it. Gives the test back. Pass. Comes to me. Like, gosh darn it! Not again! Not again! So I flip it over. I look at it. 54. It was a 54 or a 58. I forget which. But it was a 54 or a 58. And I was just like, okay, it's okay. I still got one more test. I still have one more test to try to pass this class, to pass the class A, even though this isn't Spanish, this is calculus 2. So I go back. And this time, I'm talking to the professor during office hours. We're chatting. How much is passing, by the way? A 70. So I wasn't, like, overly far off, right? Yeah, it's a positive trend line. So I go to, like, the professor. I'm like, hey, I really want to try, and I really want to try to pass this class. And he's like, okay, hold on. Like, I know you've been here, you've been going to all the lectures, I know you're participating in class, let's see. So, again, I enter his office this way, and he facing me this way with his desk, but his computer's on the other side. So I just like see him like turn around and look at his computer, right? So he's just like looking at his computer. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe he can find a way I can pass. He turns back around, much like the way that he turns over the test. Much like the way that he turns over the test. And he's like, no, I think you just failed. So I'm just like, yeah, I guess that's fair. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the straightforward answer. You totally didn't haunt my dreams and make me like regret living, right? But I appreciate it, right? Like a doctor telling you that like they're not gonna give you false hope. He didn't give me false hope, and it was like even if you got 100, you wouldn't like you're not gonna get 100. I'm just like, okay, that's valid. So I retake calculus 2, and this time I do a bit better, right? I do end up getting a B plus or whatever. I do end up getting a B plus. And I fought tooth and nail, by the way, for this B plus. I fought tooth and nail, okay? Like, during one of the tests, my glasses literally, like, exploded on me. Hold on, I can't see at all right now, so apologies. But my glasses literally exploded on me, and, like, both frames broke, and I literally took a singular lens. I took a singular lens because I couldn't read. I couldn't read, like, without it. And I used it as, like, a spyglass to fill out the test because I couldn't see. It wasn't even a monocle. It was like, how did your glasses explode? I don't know. They just exploded. They just exploded. But yeah, I was in the trenches, okay? I was grinding. I was grinding, bro. I was grinding. But yeah, it's nice to know Ori is a human. Yes, it is. It's nice to know that I'm a human, I suppose. Yeah, so anyways, as I was driving home, like, I distinctly remember, too, as I was, like, driving home from the test, I had to, like, rig up a way for me to look, because I have to wear glasses while I'm driving. So, I ended up, like, getting, like, rubber bands. Sorry. I ended up getting, like, rubber bands and, not toilet paper, but paper towel from the bathroom. Like, you know that, like, cheap cardboard paper towel, like this type of paper towel, except it's, like, a little thicker and stuff. So I made, like, just, like, a terrible version of glasses based on this. And I just remember, like, I was just, like, driving by, and you know, like, when two cars pull up? You know, when two cars pull up at a stoplight? When two cars pull up at a stoplight, so, like, the car just, like, pulls up. The dude just, like, looks over at me. I look over at him. He just loses his heckin' marbles and just, like, busts out laughing. Okay, so Calculus 3 comes by. And I'm like, you know what? I really got this. I'ma do my best. I'm gonna grind. I know how to grind now. I'm great. First test. First test. First test. The classic. You didn't do well. Sign. Got my test back. Yeah. I failed again. Yeah, so I failed again. I go to office hours every week. I bust my hump. I try to get it. I try, guys. I still end up failing that class as well. So I take it a third time, I get an A. Or not a third time, I take it a second time and I get an A. Second time's the charm. Yeah, so second time's the charm in Calculus 1, Calculus 2, and Calculus 3. And that's okay. You know, sometimes you have to fail. Sometimes you must fail multiple times to be successful. You're just reinforcing my decision to drop out of college. Listen, okay. I am nothing if not persistent, okay? You can fail me once, I'll take it again. You can fail me again, I'll take it again. You can fail me a third time, I'll debate my life decisions up until this point, but I'll take it again, gosh darn it. And I will pass. Okay? That's how I live life. My professors always thought I was doing like so well in the class, and then they would like, because I struggled with every single class basically that I took, in one way or another. And they would always be like, "Oh yeah, you want to be a TA next semester? Are you coming to like? Oh, are you on the boundary for A?" No, it's always me just like dragging my butt across the finish line and getting a C. Calculus 3, I have no excuse. I should have passed Calculus 3, because the professor like had his own like website with helpful information and stuff, and he was a gamer. I wanted to do well for him. I wanted to do well. He was a nice guy, and I still failed. He was a gamer. Yeah, he even had like game suggestions on his website. So he had like practice quizzes, practice tests, explanations of the material, the lectures. And then also he had like a side suggestion of like, oh, here's the games I'm playing, and here's like what you should be doing. I would say his name, but then you guys can like backwards derive. Backwards derive, you mean integrate. Ready? I will punch you out the door. I will punch you out the door. Never drink and derive. We go with painful jokes here, apparently. You know, whenever I make a pun, it's hilarious. Okay, whenever I make a pun or a funny, like, haha, play on words joke, it's funny and unique, okay?